let's start off with the first question coming from my good friend Puffy Dark. This first question is asking me how I've been. I'm a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit anxious, but so far I'm pretty healthy. There's been things that have been getting in my way for quite some time, but other than that, I'm pretty well so far. And he asked what are my favorite medias besides anime, and yes, I am into video games. I am into sports sometimes, but the thing that I'm mostly into is drawing. Ever since I was 10 years old, I've discovered my love and talent for drawing. I still do sometimes, but it's not very common. I rarely draw sometimes, but yeah, occasionally I do often sketch some things, whether it's anime or even just landscapes, so on and so forth. I haven't given up on that one, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep going for that one. Next question comes from ADXTM. He's proud of how much my channel has been growing, thank you very much, and he's wanting to know what is it like being a known figure in the Reborn community. I think that's a bit exaggerating because I don't believe I'm the most known person overall in the community. If anything, I know certain people who have been in the fandom longer than I've been, and it's possible that they probably possessed more knowledge than I do. But then again, I wouldn't want to be a negative Nancy because, to be fair, I did made a lot of impact in this fandom, a lot. Mostly ever since my first influence came around 2020, the rumors of Reborn starting. I've gone into several Discord groups, I started on Instagram, and YouTube, and eventually on Twitter. And yeah, a lot of people have been using my my knowledge as source or for how they understand the series, or whenever someone wants me to state about what I think about the show, they often ask me for questions, and because that just shows how much knowledge I have with the series, and that's amazing. I always wanted to be a big part of this fandom because it is my favorite series. It's not just a show that I just talked about like I'm passionate about it. This fandom to me feels like home, and to see that people wanting to know questions or wanting to know my overall thoughts on it, it's an awesome thing to do. I like to also thank ADXTM for getting me this far. He's been around for quite some time, and it's nice that he's been doing well himself. Thanks again, Alex, for the question. I really appreciate it. Next question comes from Edge, or should I call him Almighty Edge. Besides Hitman Reborn and anime, what are my favorite cartoons? I like the original Teen Titans. I really love Samurai Jack. I don't know if it counts, but I guess I'll go for the original Avatar. I mean, it's still debate whether Avatar is an anime or not, but who cares? Everyone enjoys it the way it is, so I'm just gonna count that. I actually really love Hey Arnold as well. It's probably one of the cartoons I've also grown up watching. It feels less like a cartoon and more like more of a story about growing up, and it sort of has mature themes in a way, but at the same time it was one cartoon it's kind of memorable for me. So yeah, I guess these are the ones I can name on the top of my head. Anyway, thank you for the question. Next question is from the GOAT, Ultra Galaxy, CEO of Beyblade. His question is, what would I think 10 years later Sunna would look like? Unfortunately, we don't really got an official answer for that one because Akira Amano has yet to come forth with an illustration of what 10 years Sunna would look like. So it's really up into interpretation. Luckily for me, I think the closest, or at least the one that truly resembles a 10-year Sunna, and no, I'm not talking about Giotto, I'm talking about a fan-made story called The 11th Family, which we see adult Sunna that everyone was wondering. In my opinion, I think this one is probably the most accurate vision of what I think Sunna would look like in 10 years. For those who haven't read it, I really recommend it. Chances are I'm most definitely going to make a video up on that story as well. I mean, I know I usually talk about canon materials, but at the same time I also want to give some of the fandom a chance. And given that I just read the story recently, I will talk about it. Next question comes from Nagia, or I'll just call her Wind for short. Her first question is, what part of Chrome and Rukia that I love the most? Chrome and Rukia to me are the characters that I've focused on for quite some time. They have a really interesting story, they have a lot of memorable moments, and the thing is, the more I've seen their moments, whether it's in the manga and anime, the more I gravitate to them. They're really that interesting. Or maybe it's just me being biased, but I think you can see why. I remember you like Kamen Rider Ryuki. Do you like watching Kamen Rider franchise? If you are, what's your favorite other than Ryuki? So far, recently I've enjoyed Oz. I might say it's probably my most favorite Kamen Rider, or if even tokusatsu as a whole, it has a balance of everything amazing in it. The characters, the story, the suit, and so on. I also happen to really love Kuga as well. I have a shirt for Kuga, and I also have a poster for it as well. Also recently enjoyed Wizard, Build. Deno was the first Kamen Rider I've watched, and it's still my favorite at the moment. I also really enjoyed ZO as well. These are the ones that I've currently enjoyed. Third is what Zanpakuto thinks fits you the most, personally. I'm just gonna be biased and say it's either Tensa Zangetsu or perhaps Sone no Shirayuki. I have a feeling it's probably Tensa Zangetsu because, Ichigo is a character that I also really like as well. Tensa Zangetsu is black and red, which is what goes for my theme of my channel. So, yeah, probably that one. Next question comes from Diego, Chainsaw Diego. Who are my favorite members in the Decimo family? It would definitely be Enma. I'm totally not biased. And Suzuki. I also really like Kuyo as well. Speaking of which, yes, my favorite fight in the Decimo, the Inheritance arc, is Ryohei versus Kuyo. I think that was one of the best fights for me, in my opinion. There's also Sunna and Enma versus Demon Spot, which I would argue to be one of my favorites in the series so far. And do I think I'll see Enma in the anime? Hopefully. I can't say yes or no, because if I say yes, turns out that I'm wrong. I'll turn out to be an idiot. Then the same thing happens if I said no, then next thing people knew, Reborn ends up getting a continuation and we all look like idiots. So hopefully he'll be in the anime. Hopefully it's possible, because the Inheritance arc not only is it the best arc in the series for me, but it's considered a fan favorite, so I can see it getting an anime at some point. And yeah, I can understand the whole thing with Enma, the last arc. He was kind of shafted at the end, but even then, Enma needs to be examined. I probably plan to talk about him at some point. Next comes from this user. If Reborn won a game now, what style would you want it to be? I think it's obvious that if Reborn were to get a game, it's obviously going to get a fighting one. They're going to include most of the Vongala members, the Varia members, the Simon members, the Millefear members, and perhaps even the Arcobalenos. That'd be great. Including all the Reborn characters that we've seen in a fighting game, that'll be interesting. There's been surprisingly, there are a lot of Reborn games actually, believe it or not. I believe around 20 games or so, most of which are from older consoles like the Nintendo DS, PlayStation. Recently we got a mobile game. I heard it's shut down, but for some reason it's still on Play Store, but I'll take a look at that one. Next question comes from The Godfather, or Black Saint 97. Who are my favorite Varia members and who's the worst? My favorite ones are a tie between Zanzas and Squalo. I don't think I need to say anything with them because, first of all, Squalo's fight with Yamamoto is the best. I really like his character as well. And Zanzas, I mean, it's Zanzas, come on. The same guy who fought Sunna, he gave us one of the best fights in the Varia arc. But also his fight with Hibari in the final arc, the Cursed Rainbow arc, is probably the most entertaining fight we've seen as well. Not to mention, Flames of Wrath is still my favorite flame in the series. If we're gonna count all of them, including the special flames and so on and so forth. Honorable mentions for the best ones for me as well would be Belfegor and Fran. I like their duos as well. They're really funny, and the way Fran always banters with Belfegor, and then Belfegor just tries to kill him and it never happens. I like their duo as well. As for the worst member, by default, I will have to go for Leviathan. Mostly because he hasn't done anything significant in the series. I mean, other than his fight with Lambo, he hasn't done much. So I'm probably gonna go for him as the worst, not because I don't like him as a character, but we don't really get to see much of his moments. Favorite video game character of all time? I guess Red from Pokemon, Alex Mercer, Dante from Devil May Cry, Nero as well, Reimu from Toho, Cole McGrath from Infamous. I guess these are the ones I can name on the top of my head at the moment, because there's been a lot I could name, but these are the ones I can think of. As for your last question, Dante or Virgil? In terms of preference, I would say Dante, but as terms of who I think is arguably the better character, I'll have to say Virgil. I mean, Virgil's entirely the reason why Dante is even badass, so I would say both, but in terms of preference, Dante. But in terms of, arguably speaking, I'll have to go for Virgil for this one. Next question comes from Zoro King. If you could hire one of the Vongala members as your personal bodyguard, who would it be? I'd have to say Mukuro. I mean, I was gonna say Hibari, but I don't think he would be interested. He's just gonna kick me out because he's not really interested in bribing or anything. So probably Mukuro though, because Mukuro, he would do anything to achieve his goal, and it's safe to consider he is one of the strongest members in the Evangela, aside from Sunna and I guess maybe Yamamoto. But yeah, Mukuro most likely. Oh, by the way, another shout out for Zoro King. He's currently watching the anime, and he's also he's made a video reacting to the series. But sadly, YouTube made a attack on the poor guy, and his video was gone. But yeah, Zoro King is currently watching the anime. Big shout out to him. It's actually nice to see him here and also enjoying with us here today. Next question comes from my good friend and a fellow Reborn content creator, Yugi. His question is, if Hitman Reborn could get one more project in the future, would it be a game or movie? I mean, we already got a game recently, but sadly, we're not sure if it's really gone or not. I've heard that it's still in the Play Store, but I might be wrong. So I think automatically or by default, probably a movie. Though I wouldn't mind it getting another game, to be honest. But sadly, I don't see it possible because, remember, even Bleach couldn't get a game. So if Bleach or if we're seeing like a lot of classic shows getting a game, it could be possible. But nowadays, I mean, we literally just got a Spy Family game, so by default, I believe a movie is possible if Reborn were to be picked up in the future. Your next question is, if Reborn could get a crossover special with another shonen anime, what would I want it to be and what would it be about? I think the most common answer would be My Hero Academia, because it's pretty much a legacy comparison at this point. But for me, it's a boring answer. I'm not gonna go for one that's already been talked about for some time. So I'm just gonna go for an answer that's more unique and more a different one. And I believe I found that one, Bleach. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would Bleach, one of the big three, cross over with one that's not part of it? May I remind you, One Piece did the same thing with Dragon Ball and Toriko, and it worked. Yeah, sure, Dragon Ball and Toriko aren't necessarily the big three, but the crossover with One Piece actually made it entertaining. So to see Bleach with Reborn would be also very nice, because considering how more or less similar they are, but not so often. It's still easy to tell the difference between two shows. It would be nice to see how the Vongala, reacting to the Espadas, and Sunna being inspired by Ichigo's way of fighting, the female characters interacting, and also mostly because Aizen kind of reminds me of Byakuran a little bit. They both go for proceeding plans and betraying their friends, or in quotations. And yeah, it would be very funny. Aside from Bleach, I would also say D.Gray-man, mostly because both of these shows are, they're heavily underrated when they first came out, or at least in the West in the mid-2000s. I guess Air Gear would be fine, Zatch Bell would be interesting, Beelzebub, Gintama, Yozakura family, but sadly Yozakura isn't as popular, so I think that's as far as I would go for now. Next question comes from Netherman. What got you into Hitman Reborn? I can't exactly remember because it's already been like, 11 years or maybe even more. I remember I was a huge Bleach fan. I watched the Bleach on English dub, and I really wanted to find more series like Bleach. I know there was like Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball, but there were other ones that I've interested in. I remember seeing Fairy Tail, but the ones I mostly remembered was Soul Eater, Yu Yu Hakusho, D.Gray-man, and Hitman Reborn. So what got me into the series now? Back then I was only interested in the action, some of the characters were cool, the villains, but now that I've been with the series for decades, what got me into it is the story, or at least how everything felt in place and how poetic it was, especially when you consider how the show, how the manga even ended. So what got me into the series is pretty much a mixture of everything, the characters, the power systems, and it's become a series that I'm genuinely passionate about. Most people would enjoy Reborn because of nostalgia, and I get that, but for me it's passion. It's something that it took me for 10 years. It's the reason for who I am today. Next comes from this user, number 1 DxD fan. Have you watched and read High School DxD? Yes I did. I watched the anime. and I'm sure this is something most of us can admit as well. What do I think of it? It's good. It's good. I haven't seen the new season though, so I'm not gonna comment on that one, but yeah, I did watch it. Next comes from this user. Who is your favorite character in all anime and manga? Just any series. Sunna, Ichigo, Gintoki, Itsuki Minami, Red from the Pokemon manga, Taichi from Digimon, Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh, Senna from Aishul 21, Ippo from Hajime no Ippo, Maka from Soul Eater, Alan Walker from D.Gray-man. I think these are the ones I can name so far. I know I've named a ludicrous amount. I apologize for that, but yeah, these are the ones I can name at the moment. Oh, and by the way, Ron Kamonohashi as well. I know I mostly named main characters, but if I'm going to go for other side characters, you could count in like the rest of the Vongulas from Reborn, Rukia from Bleach, most definitely. And yeah, I think these are the ones I can name so far. Next question comes from this user. Will I cover D.Gray-man in my videos again? Yeah, I actually do plan to cover D.Gray-man in the future as well. I could perhaps talk more about Alan Walker, because I've already made a solo video on Sunna, and I love Alan Walker as the main character. Then I could also do more about Lina Lee, because I really love Lina Lee as well. Or maybe I could talk just about the characters in general, because I talked everything about D.Gray-man, but I will probably talk more about the characters in depth. So yeah, I do plan to talk about D.Gray-man. Just at the moment, I'm currently focusing on Reborn, and eventually Ron Kamonohashi, because it's a show that I also want people to try out because it's Amano's new work. But you can bet I'm going to be making D.Gray-man videos in the future. Oh, not to mention Air Gear. Next question comes from this user. Is there a chance for an anime announcement in this year? Which event would be the best chance? Need more Hitman Reborn. I can't say anything much about this year because so far we haven't gotten any news for Reborn at this 2023. So our best bet would be around one of the anniversaries. It could be 2024, maybe 2025, even though it's not the anniversary. There's also 2026 because that's technically the anime's 20th anniversary. So honestly, it could be anything at this point. I'm not going to estimate or make a prediction. So then again, I do believe Reborn could be picked up. I don't know about this year, but if it's not this year, it could be the next. If it's not, we're probably going to get an answer for this in the future. Next question comes from this person. Do I think Mukuro uses his crews for tools, or he's just being a tsundere and actually cares about his friends? He always used them as tools, actually. He always does. I mean, I know there are moments where he genuinely cared about Chrome, Chikusa, and Ken, but at the same time, that didn't change his motivation for using them for his goals. I mean, I believe he even told Chrome in the 10 years later that she was a fool for following him, but Chrome still did follow him anyway. But then again, I wouldn't say he's a tsundere. It's just that even though he uses them as tools, he kind of has a feeling for them at the end of the day. But considering that he didn't necessarily treat Chrome that good as much, like in the manga for example, at the final arc, but then again, he has a soft spot for her. I don't believe in a romantic way or anything. He kind of sees her more as a student, so that's what I think. As for what spin-off, what I want for the characters in the show to have, the Varia or the Simons, definitely the Simons. Definitely. The Simons need more depth for me because in the manga, they were only introduced at the Inheritance arc, and then they made their conclusion, in quotations, at the Curse of the Rainbow arc. It's a really huge shame because we did saw a flashback and how the members formed, but we never got a story of how they were in the first place. We know Enma's background about families being killed, but we never saw the full detail. For me, the Simon, definitely. Chase asked, what's your favorite Hitman Reborn moment? My favorite moment has to be the entirety of the Curse of the Rainbow arc. As I've mentioned, the fights in the Inheritance Ceremony arc, mainly Ryohei versus Kuyo, Sunna and Enma versus Demon Spad, and as for the Varia arc, I would also go for Yamamoto versus Squalo, Sunna versus Zanzas. The reason why I also want to mention the future arc as well is because there's also the whole thing with Sunna rejecting the Vongala and Reborn slowly showing us a hint of Sunna's resolve, so on and so forth. There's a lot of amazing moments for me in Hitman Reborn, and I have a lot to count in. Atsuya asked, is there any Hitman Reborn character I would like to have expanded or an idea and arc would like to have in Steam? I guess either Chrome, Enma, Ryohei, Uni, I guess even some of the Arcobalenos, the Melifior, so on and so forth. I guess some of the characters in Reborn aren't really expanded much besides the Vongala, so I guess we'll go for some of these characters. As for my favorite flame, if we're gonna count special flames, I'll go for the Flames of Wrath. I think Zanza's Flames is by far my favorite. But if we're going for the non-special flames, I guess it's a tie between the Earth Flame or the Sky Flame. This next user asks if I would want a continuation of the manga, an anime adaptation of the last 2 arcs, or a Brotherhood for the anime. The manga continuation is very unlikely, and to be honest, I prefer how the way it is right now. I don't think a manga continuation is necessary per se. I think it's okay for the way it is. As for Brotherhood reboots, this one is probably likely though, because it's, a lot of reboots are happening nowadays, so it wouldn't really surprise me if they're going to readapt the whole thing. But personally, I want the last 2 arcs to be continued, is because the Inheritance and the Curse of the Rainbow arc are easily one of my favorites, and the anime itself is already fine, in my opinion at least, so yeah. Next question, this person asked, if Hitman Reborn anime were to get a complete remake, how would I want it to look like in terms of plot progression and animation style? I would want it to be as accurate as possible. Yes, the Daily Life arc can be annoying, but I would rather take that than just them rushing the whole thing. I don't see why they would want to rush a manga that's like very popular. So they would very much take this whole thing very seriously. Animation style, I'm guessing you mean by studio. Anyone that's not CGI. No offense to CGI animations, by the way. I think they're cool, but anything as long as it's like how most animations goes nowadays. So that's my opinion. Alright, finally moving on to YouTube questions. What is my opinion on Hitman Reborn remake rumors that has been popping up for the last few years, and would you want said remake to be if it actually happens? Even though I'm more on the continuation side, because as I've said before, the anime is fine now. I mean, sure, there are 20 episodes where a bit slow for some people, and as for my opinion on what's been going on, as I've said, it's very hard to tell whether it could be possible or not, because right now the main focus is Amano's new work, Ron Kamanohashi. But as I've said before, rumors can grow more, or even at least the possibility could grow even more. Like if most of you see my Instagram, you'll notice that some of the Reborn news have been they've grown much more. They've evolved into the possibility. The anime has been selling a lot of merchandises, there's collaborations, there's a stage play, and then in 2021, the manga gets more promotions, a video game is made. There's a lot of things that Reborn has been making throughout a while, especially in the 2020s. Then there's 2022, same thing, but getting more, and then there's 2023. In my opinion, the rumors are getting stronger than expected, and I don't know if I would expect the same thing in 2024. Even if we got nothing, at least if we got a more bigger hint, that would have been appreciated. But so far, I prefer keeping expectations low because Ron is now the main focus. Just remain in low hopes for now, but then again, hopefully that'll be possible though, in my opinion. Next question comes from my good friend Anbu Super. He's quite curious about my favorite panel from Reborn or any other manga. His favorite is the 10-year blood war arc of Bleach with the scene of Byakuya, which is, by the way, really good choice. My favorite panel of Reborn would be the one with Sunna and Reborn where he told him he's not gonna die, Hibari versus Zanzas in the Curse of the Rainbow arc, the Double X burner when Sunna shot Damon's spot, the panel which shows Sunna Ultimate Dying Will mode. As for other mangas, let's see, we got D.Gray-man, most of the panels in there, Alan Walker with Fighting Millennium Earl, some panels with Lina Lee. But if you want a manga with absolutely beautiful panels, I highly recommend Air Gear. It's possible I might make a video on Air Gear in the future because it's that amazing. It's another underrated series that I think people need to read or I guess watch as well. I'll make a video on Air Gear in the future. But yeah, Air Gear panels are very beautiful. I definitely recommend it. Oh, there's also Shaman King panels. So yeah, thank you for the question. Next question is, this person is confused about the whole Chrome and Mukuro at the end, which is understandable, and I'm going to answer it. He asked, Chrome was alive because Mukuro put illusions on her organ inside her, and now she rejects it. So how does that work, and was Chrome actually real? Yes, Chrome is real. The thing is that I want to explain, Mukuro did give Chrome her organs because the only way for her to survive is to keep on believing in Mukuro. She's basically Mukuro's underling, and she has to serve under him. Now the reason why she rejected it's probably because she kind of wants to see her own, she wants to be her own person. She wants to acknowledge that she can do this by herself. So as a result, the organ that Mukuro created is gone. I believe this was hinted even in both in the Future arc and in the Inheritance Ceremony arc, where the connections between Chrome and Mukuro were severed. So in an act of Chrome fulfilling her character, she decides to create her own organ. We see how Chromes have her own resolve. So with that, she creates her own organ from Mist Flame to survive. So meaning now she no longer has to rely on Mukuro too much. She does say that she wants to protect him, but it's not in the fact that she has to believe in him so that the organ will be alive, but it's for Chrome to have that in herself so that the organ will continue living. I hope I'm making sense, but you can just read the whole thing again and you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay, next question. If KHR got a remake, which studio would I want to see it handle in its production? Okay, spoiler alert, I actually had an idea for a video like this. I was originally planning to make a video about which studio would I want Reborn to be adapted by. For now, however, I'm just gonna say this shortly. I have 3 choices for now. My first choice would be Studio Sunrise, because if you take a look at their animation in Gundam, they're very fantastic. And not to mention they're the same people who made Gintama, another manga that has action and comedy. Definitely complement Reborn well. Second would be A1 Pictures, because their animation is actually very fantastic. And I've seen a lot of works from A1 Pictures a couple times, so if we were to see Reborn being adapted by them, would be amazing. I mean, A1 Pictures in themselves are a mixed bag. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, but at least now, current A1 productions, they're really great. As for my third choice, a tie between David Productions or Studio IG. Honestly, either of them could be there as well, so I'm a bit tied with this one. Just subscribe to you. Live your content. Number 1, what is your favorite arc? For now, it's a tie between the Inheritance Ceremony arc and the Curse of the Rainbow arc at the moment. If you had a flame, what flame would it be? I'm guessing either Sky Flames or Earth Flames. At the moment, I'm biased towards Enma, so I'll probably just say Earth Flames. Do you agree with the statement? Before there was Deku, there was Sunna. I used to agree at certain points. The thing is because most people only compare them because they have similar personalities. But personally, as days go by, I don't really agree with this anymore. And there's a perfect reason for that. People don't realize that both characters have different backgrounds. I mean, yeah, you could argue they have this zero to hero trope, which people would also compare, but not to be that guy, this trope has been done before. I mean, I love Sunna as much as the next guy, but it's not like his trope is anything original. Yeah, it's an awesome trope, but there's many characters I know that have a similar trope like him. I mean, take a look at Ippo from Hajime no Ippo, a guy who sucks at fighting eventually learns to fight. You have Simon from Gurren Lagann, one of the most popular shows of all time, and nobody brings him in this conversation. You also have Senna from iShield 21. I mean, I know it's another sports manga, but hey, he had the same trope. He sucks at doing sports, but eventually he becomes badass at it. I mean, I understand with the whole personality thing, but again, I know a lot of characters that have the exact personality, and then again, both are, well, excruciatingly different. Just because they have a similar personality doesn't mean anything, or if at all, they don't have similar background whatsoever. They may have, I guess, similar vibes and all, but then again, that doesn't mean Deku is another Sunna. There will never be another Sunna, period. No matter how many new gen characters are gonna come in the future, there will be no other Sunna, period. Whether it's Deku, whether it's whatever character may come across, there are not Sunna. Sunna is him. He is never replaceable for me. So yeah, before Sunna, there's always Sunna. That's the thing I believe. Next question is asked by this user. My question is how you want the ending goes. In KHR, you said that the ending could be better. Yes, I did make a video about why I think the ending overall is not as bad as people say it is. And looking back, I still have that sentiment. The thing is though, I forgot to mention in that video is that how my interpretation of how the ending should have been. Or at least how I would fix the ending. I didn't mention this in the video because I didn't want the video to drag on more longer. So even though I think the ending is great, personally there are some things that I felt like the ending could have done. For starters, yes, there's a whole thing with Sunna's character arc, which is great and all. But the thing is, it's a good conclusion for Sunna's character, but not a good conclusion for the manga. Yeah, we got the whole conclusion for the Vongala, Sunna, Reborn, and that's cool and all, but what about the others? Where's the whole Millefleur thing? The Simons, the Varias, I mean sure, we kind of got the resolved conflict of their relationship with Sunna, but we want to see how it ends. And even then, there's a lot of things that were never answered. For example, we didn't get to see much of the Arcabelenos. I mean, we know the curse has been gone, but I still feel like a more better detail would be more appreciated. We still didn't get to see 10-year Sunna. We didn't get to see much of how it happened in the future. What I'm basically saying is, while the ending is fine as itself, I still feel like there are a lot of things missing. It isn't bad by all means, but come on, like, we want to know more about the Simons. They were literally shafted at the near end. The Melfior, sort of, and some things were not explained much. Even then, while the ending is fine, it's not exactly perfect. As I've mentioned before, the ending is not perfect, but it's not terrible either. So that's how I want to see the ending, how it goes. No, I think the Skyflame is perfectly fine, to be honest. I don't think it needs more other abilities. I mean, technically it already has, and it's arguably the most, I would say it's one of the strongest, but not the strongest flame so far. But do I need more abilities? Does it need more abilities? Not really. I think it's fine the way it is. Who do you think will give a great fight versus Sunna, not only anime? Okay, so from what I'm getting is you're asking if who would be a good rival battle character for Sunna, not only anime. If I'm going for the series as a whole, I would say Enma. But if I'm gonna go like outside the series, you think I would say Deku, right? No, not really. I think it's already arguably universally accepted that Sunna would win this hands down. I don't think I need to elaborate. Maybe I'm a bit biased because I prefer longer series. This range from a lot of old characters like Oga Tatsumi from Beelzebub, Yo Azakura from Shaman King, Kiyomaru and Zatchbell, or even like Itsuki Minami from Air Gear. But as for new gen characters, honestly, I can't really go for one. Itadori's basically not a good idea. Tayo, no, definitely not Tayo. Probably Asta, probably, because, well, they both can like cancel out powers, although Asta can only disable magic, whereas Sunna can, control his Dying with Flames, which is not magic. Speaking of magic, there's also Natsu from Fairy Tail, but I don't know about this one personally. So yeah, I think these are the ones I could say so far. Thanks for asking, by the way. Vongala Z Zax asked if KHR gets rebooted, which anime style would I prefer, 2D or 3D/CGI? Of course 2D. Of course, I mean, I think most of us would want Reborn to be in 2D. But then again, no offense to the ones like CGI or 3D, I can totally understand. Some CGI animes can be done right in my opinion. I mean, they're not as terrible as they say it is, unless if it's Berserk or arguably the worst one is X-Arms. The ones of CGI that I remember enjoying was Ajin, the Godzilla anime, Ultraman the anime. I think they are the ones I could name so far, but as long as it's not Berserk level or X-Arms level, no way on those. But arguably speaking, of course I want Reborn to be in 2D. That's my opinion. 8th Guardian, I'm glad you participated. Your first question is top 10 Reborn characters. I'm just gonna name them on the top of my head because putting them in order would be a bit ridiculous, so let me see. I got Zanzas, Squalo, Chrome, Gokudera, Yamamoto, Ryohei, Primo, Reborn, Sunna, Dino, Uni, and of course Enma. Throughout this whole Q&A, I'm just gonna be biased towards Enma. Next is 7th strongest Vongala Garden in my opinion. For me, it's a tie between Yamamoto or Mukuro. Hibari is probably there, but from what I know, Yamamoto got like a huge upgrade in the Inheritance Ceremony arc. And I'm only saying Mukuro because technically he has like, he has really broken Mist Flames. Gokudera and Hibari for me comes in second. Hibari has better strength, but Gokudera has like better hacks because the guy has like access to all flames. But from what I checked, Gokudera only has few of them, but he doesn't have the Mist Flames. If he had the Mist Flames, I would say he would have been the strongest Vongala Guardian outright. And keep in mind, we're counting Guardians here, so Sunna does not count. So for me, it's a tie between Yamamoto or Mukuro. Hibari and Gokudera are probably even. I mean, I would say Gokudera slightly more, just because he has access to all the flames with his Sistema CAI. But that's my opinion so far, really. Question number 3, why are you so obsessed with KHR? I hope you don't mean that rudely. No, I don't think obsession is the right word. I mean, don't worry, I know what you're trying to say. I know English is not everyone's first language, and don't worry, I know you're not actually being rude. What you meant to ask is why are you so passionate about Reborn? And that's how the right word I would use. The reason why I'm so passionate about Hitman Reborn is because it's one of the few series that really did impact me a lot. I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but it would be a lot better than I just said, Reborn is a show that I grew up with. To me, that just sounds like I'm putting nostalgia glasses. I mean, it is true, people enjoy Reborn because of nostalgia. I mean, Reborn is like, by now, it's around 20 years old. And most people would enjoy it because of nostalgia. And while it is understandable, for me, I enjoy Reborn because it's something that I'm passionate about. It's a show and even a series that got me a lot of friends. I had a lot of people here compared to how I used to be back then. Because when I was a Reborn fan, around 2012-ish, I didn't really have that much people to discuss with the series. It was just mostly myself and occasionally some of my real life friends here and there, but never on the internet. But as they go by, it eventually became a series that got me just a lot of friends. I mean, similar to how Sunna started off with no friends and people always pick on him and all, at the end of the manga, he ends the series with having true friends. And Reborn taught me a lot of that as well. It is a series that I'm sure most people even got some great help amount of it. I mean, even in Japan, this is the manga that helped a lot of Japanese people overcome depression and help them through life, so on and so forth. It helped them not just become an anime fan, but it helped them become the way they are now. Becoming a better person, understanding people and friendship, so on and so forth. People enjoy Reborn because of like the power systems and the story, which is of course, yeah, it's one of the things we also enjoy. But as a show itself, it's a series that sticks to me throughout the years. I've enjoyed Reborn for over 10 years, and you might say it's because I'm nostalgic to it, but to me it's more than that. It's more than just mere nostalgia. I'm just genuinely passionate about the manga, and I doubt I'll stop anytime soon. So yeah, that's why I'm quotations obsessed with Reborn. It's not just a series that I'm passionate about, it's also the fans, or at least the people that I'm associated with. I have friends who make fan-made stories, I have friends who draw, I have friends who review the manga, and so on and so forth. I'm also wanting to give also the fandom a shine light of bright, because people often think that Reborn is forgotten, there's no fans. No, there is fans, there is. I'm not even like the only one. There's like a lot of Reborn fans out there that I want people to know that the show is not dead. The show is very much alive. So yeah. As for the best Vongula gear looks, automatically Sunna for me, because black and red is my favorite color. I'll admit Hibari's Vongula gear is pretty stunning, I'm not gonna lie. But Yamamoto's Vongula gear is also pretty cool. Lambo's Vongula gear is underrated as hell. Ryohei's Vongula gear, it's fine, it's alright. It just reminds me a bit of his older gear in the future arc, but it's also okay. Mukuro's Vongula gear / Chrome's Vongula gear, I guess they look fine. Gokudara's alright. He looks not bad himself. So for my most favorite, I would say Sunna Vongula gear and Hibari Vongula gear. Oh, and Yamamoto's Vongula gear as well. This user asked, do you think KHR will get a new season / a remake like Shaman King? Honestly, I hope it does. I definitely think it's one of the few series that has a lot of chance that it can. I mean, sure, it may look like it may not have a chance now, but there's no telling if it does or not. I don't want to say yes because I might turn out to be wrong, but I don't want to say no and then I end up being wrong either, because honestly, if I say either of these, I'll just turn out to be a clown and I'm wrong. So the best answer I would say is I hope it does. And honestly, it has to. It has to. I mean, it's one of the few mangas that to this day people demand for it to get another season or a remake. Do you play any Reborn video games like in PSP and PS2? Absolutely, yeah, definitely. In fact, I have a Nintendo DS emulator where I play the games regularly, especially when there's no internet or Wi-Fi. Or I even play them when I'm in an airport because, like, there's usually no Wi-Fi in there. There is, but you have to pay for it. So I say screw it. I'm just gonna play the Reborn video game with my DS, and it was a lot of fun. As for the PS2, yeah, I do. Sadly, these games are only in Japan, so you need the Google Translator while in your walkthrough. But I didn't really pay much attention to it. The games themselves are surprisingly really good. They don't really age much nowadays, but they're still fun, especially if you're a big Reborn fan like myself. Number 3, should D.Gray-man get a season 3 or remake? Yeah, absolutely. I would want to see D.Gray-man get something new. I mean, I think most D.Gray-man fans will agree that it should get a remake because, like, neither of the shows follow their manga properly. But then again, I don't know if this is something the author would want to, because considering what I've heard about D.Gray-man Hollow, its reputation in the Blu-ray incident, which, again, if there's any D.Gray-man fan who's an expert to this, could you clear me out in the comment section? I mean, I've watched a video where it says this allegedly took place, but I want a bit of a clarification, because if this is true, then there's no telling if the author moved on by this, because I can tell this incident really affected her from what I know. But then again, I really hope it does. D.Gray-man is one of the few series I would want to see getting new at some point, but if it doesn't, I guess it's fine if it just releases new chapters like quarterly, like I've mentioned. Next person asks my favorite character aside from the 10th generation Vongula family. At the moment, Zanzas, Squado, Primo, Uni. Villains, we also have Byakuran, Bermuda, Checkerface, and of course, say it with me guys, and Makuzato. Oh, and Decimos as well. Anime Dude 74 asks, this is a lame question, but do you have any KHR merch? One, that's not a lame question. That's actually a cool question. And second, yeah, I do. So far, I have the Sunna figure, which a lot of people told me it's not legit, but there is a new figure for Sunna that's officially coming out, which I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I also got the Vongula box and ring, which is an only Japanese product, which I will show in the future actually. I made a video on it on around Twitter. I'll repost it here on YouTube. Oh, and speaking of which, I also got the rings. I have the Vongula gear for Sunna, but it's on a necklace. There's also the Varia rings, and of course, the Future Arc rings. TNT Neo asks, what made you so interested in KHR, and when did you watch Reborn? As 8th Guardian asked here, early 2012. Yes, I've been Reborn fan since around early 2012, before the manga ended. As for what made me so interested in Reborn, at first, because I was a Bleach fan at the time, I wanted to find a series that has, a bit that I would enjoy as much as I would enjoy Bleach. So I was mostly for the characters and the story. At first, but now after revisiting the manga multiple times, I mean, Reborn is one of the first mangas I've been revisiting a lot. Because when I first got into it, I didn't initially think it was that good upon first impression. I mean, I had the same opinion as most others. It started off boring, meh, and then it becomes good, and then the ending was like a cliffhanger or something. But the more I revisit the manga and understand what it's about and reading it more clearly without missing any details, I've enjoyed everything about it. The story arcs, the character arcs, Sunna's character evolution, and the power system is also really great. In hindsight, it's a mixture of everything else. It's a series to me that will never be topped. LilyPie asks, do you play Genshin Impact? If not, would you be interested too? It isn't interesting to paddle the 7 elements and the 7 attributes of the Nine Wolf Flames. Yeah, I did actually play Genshin Impact. For a while. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not the biggest Genshin fanatic, or at least I'm not the biggest Genshin pro. I know people here who are big Genshin fans that are watching this and are smiling. I know who you are, thank you very much. And yeah, it's actually pretty interesting how 7 elements of the Dying Wolf Flames and the 7 attributes have some sort of interesting pattern. There's the wind, there's the fire, and so on and so forth. Then again, this kind of thing has been done a lot of times. I mean, there's like the whole thing with different attribute elements, but it's still amazing how you pointed that out, which is really interesting. Also, a fun fact, just thought I'd point out, the voice actor for Reborn, not to be confused with Nico, Ken Narita, who's the voice actor for adult Reborn, also voiced a character in Genshin called Capitano. Yeah, I just thought I'd point out. Okay, so the next question here is, what is your favorite KHR arc including both anime and manga? By anime, I'm guessing you're referring to the filler arcs. Is a tie between the Primo family arc and the Archibald Trials arc. I think these are the only anime arcs. But if I had to go for the official arcs of the anime that they covered, they got, I guess the Varia arc definitely for me in my opinion. As for the manga, I think you already know, the last 2 arcs, the Inheritance Ceremony arc and the Curse of the Rainbow arc. But if I had to go for the ones that are covered in the anime, the Future arc in the manga for me is mostly my favorite, but that's just me. But again, I think all arcs are pretty good in their own way. And second question, if it's allowed, do I think Hibari Kyoya is overrated as a character, considering his only gimmick is that he's a strong and distant? Yeah, I'll be fair, yeah, he kinda is overrated, but at the same time, he does have good qualities as a character. I will say the 10 year later Hibari arguably is the better character for version of Hibari, because he does have a significant moment where he trains Sunna, and not to mention he's a lot more mature compared to how his younger self. But even then, I think even comparing both of the Hibaris, one thing that makes Hibari a great character is that he is well received throughout Japan. Comes with the fact that his fights in the series are some of the best. I mean, you have Hibari versus Zanzus, you have Hibari versus Sunna, you have Hibari versus Mukuro, and even some of the arcs in the manga as well. Hibari versus Suzuki being the best example. So yeah, as a character, he's overrated, but at the same time, I think his 10-year later self grew on me a little bit more. Then again, if people like Hibari, that's totally fine. I can see why. But, each to their own, I suppose. Next question, this person asks, if Reborn got a reboot and the original voice actors aren't recasted, do I have any preferred voice actors that I'd like to hear in any particular role? I can only assume they're going to make it sound similar, in my opinion. But if I had to pick certain voice actors for who I want to see for Reborn, I guess Mamoru Miyano, the voice actor for Dazai, Setsunef Seiei, and Kira. I know it's a bit weird, but the thing is, he did voice a Reborn character before. He voiced Gelaro from Hitman Reborn Fate of Heat 3. We also have the voice actor for Lambo and Spanner, aka Seto Kaiba. Yeah, just keep him as Lambo or Spanner. With Hibari's voice, for example, they're gonna find one that's very similar to the original voice actor. For Sunna's gonna be a bit difficult because I don't think anyone could do a perfect Sunna voice compared to Yukari. Reborn especially, I don't think Reborn, in my opinion, Reborn is irreplaceable. Nico really loved her role so much, and I can assume if Reborn were to be rebooted or continued, they might change certain voice actors, but I doubt they'll change Reborn. I don't think anyone can make a perfect Kyaosu compared to Reborn. No way you can replace Nico. Next question, this user asks, what flame do I think had more potential to be more powerful than it was shown? Oh, easy. I don't need to think about that one. Mist Flames. Now, think about it. Mist Flames is an ability that can turn fake illusions into real illusions and can turn real illusions into fake illusions. That's kind of broken. That's basically reality warping. This has a lot potential to be more powerful than it was shown. I mean, sure, you can argue the Sky Flames is a lot stronger because it can access to all the Vongala boxes, which includes Mist Flames, but Mist Flames in itself is kind of broken. It can basically spam reality warping, and Mukuro and Chrome are masters in illusions. Next would be the Rain Flame, which is Yamamoto Takeshi is the user. The characteristic of Yamamoto's flames is called Tranquility, which is strong enough that it can slow down so much to the point that the person's heartbeat would slow down. Yamamoto and Mukuro's flames / Chrome's flames are actually really broken. At least from what I've seen so far, I think definitely these two. As for which character I think deserve more power-up or more screen time, I will pick 3. Lambo, Chrome, and Ryohei. Enough said. This person asked, what was my most epic moment in Reborn story in my opinion? I gotta say, the Kokyo arc is probably the most underrated one. It's the starting point of how things became to what it is now. Sunna fighting Mukuro, and the whole mafia thing becomes real, and Sunna has to continue with that one and keeping his friends at bay and protect them. Not only the Kokyo arc is an epic moment, storytelling wise, but it's also the one that started the whole thing. So I think it's the one that, in my opinion, deserves more attention. Yes, I love the Inheritance arc and the Cursed and Rebel arc. I think these are peak Reborn moments for me, but I think the Kokyo arc is the one that I think needs a bit more attention. I understand it's short, but still, it's the one that I think needs more attention-wise. This person asked my top 5 Reborn characters. At the moment, it's Squalo, Zanzas, Enma, Sunna, and Chrome. This person asked, do I have a scene or episode in the D.Gray-man anime or the Reborn anime when I thought something along the lines of, wow, the show is really special? And if so, what was the scene that made me think that way? Starting with D.Gray-man, for one, the anime. I don't remember which episode it was, but it was when Alan lost his arm. That was a very emotional scene, and it really did make me feel a lot for Alan Walker. And if we're going for the manga, there's also the part where he saved a family that wasn't even his own, and he seems to understand how was it like to, protect a family, just like how he used to do in the first parts of the chapter. As for Reborn, easily it has to be the scene where Sunna rejects the heritage of the Vongala. We see him finally his own character goal, where this was even a reminder for how he quotes it in the Varia arc, where he says he's not going to fight for the rings, Vongala and all of that. He only fights to protect his friends. Now, seeing him like this in the future arc where he denies the heritage really shows his character growth, and it couldn't be any more underrated in my opinion. This scene is one thing that a lot of people who complain about Sunna never seem to focus on, and that to me is why it's very special. These two shows are very special for that reason. Another interesting question someone asked me is, do I think Yozakura family may be Hitman Reborn's spiritual successor? Which I'm glad someone asked, because I definitely have an answer to this one, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me because, especially for those who read both works, the most common answer would be yes. Frankly though, for me, and this isn't me being biased, I've read both works first off, and my answer to this is no. Straight up no. On the one hand, you have Hitman Reborn. What made Hitman Reborn popular to begin with is the fact that it's a manga that focuses on comedy, slice of life, supernatural, and the fact that it's a mafia manga. On the other corner, you have Yozakura family, which involves also comedy, slice of life, and supernatural. But then came romance and spies. How is Yozakura even considered a spiritual successor to Reborn when it doesn't even have the same genre focus on? Yeah, they both involve underground crimes, so it's hardly any different. Yeah, but just because they're both involved in underground crimes doesn't mean they have to be in the same conversation. Many mangas I know also involve in underground crimes. It's not like Reborn and Yozakura are very unique to that. I mean, I love Reborn as much as the next guy. I love the manga a lot. But pretending that it's the only manga besides Yozakura to have underground crimes is a bit of a weak comparison. Yes, just because Yozakura uses similar elements to Reborn, which is what I've mentioned in my Vongala lore video, doesn't mean it's a spiritual successor. And last I checked, I don't believe the author for Yozakura came forth to say he's a fan of Reborn, at least at the moment so far. I mean, the manga just announced it's going to end at some point, and he's never made it clear that he's a fan of Reborn. So, as far as I know, Yozakura has similar elements to Reborn, but that doesn't mean it's a spiritual successor to it. It's almost like comparing Naruto with Yu Yu Hakusho or Hunter x Hunter. Yes, Naruto used similar elements to both Togashi works, but no one has ever seen Naruto as a Yu Yu Hakusho or Hunter x Hunter spiritual successor. It used similar elements to it, but still. Anyone who says this are kind of overanalyzing it. Maybe one day I'll make a video on it at some point, in case Yozakura gets very popular and it's always compared to Reborn. And no, bait videos don't count. To me, that's a very weak comparison. This person asks, have I ever played Katekyo Hitman Reborn Keys in Attack Battle? The only online Reborn game I've played is the one on mobile, because that's the only online game realistically, at least as far as my knowledge goes. But if you're asking if I ever played Keys in Attack Battle, yeah, I actually did. I played a lot of Reborn games, from ranging the Nintendo DS, the PlayStation, and even the PSP ones specifically. What else to say about the game? It's a pretty good game. Even though it's very old, it's very 2000-ish, but that's to be expected. It still ages well, especially if you're a big Reborn fan like I am and you want to see how Reborn games are like. I say this is the good one to go. This person by the name of PXL38 asked, would you think that Ryohei, Lambo, and Chrome got a bit pushed away in the last arc? Yes, in my opinion. Now, I'm glad someone noticed and asked this, because yeah, Chrome, Lambo, and Ryohei sadly didn't do very much. Although Chrome did have her moment, Lambo and Ryohei, they were somewhat shafted near the end, at least in the Curse of the Rainbow arc, but not so much in the Inheritance arc. And as I've said, Ryohei's fight with Kuyo was one of my favorites, and Lambo's Vongala gear, as well as his fight with the Lightning Garden of the Simon, those are also really great fights in my opinion, and we get to see more of how they think about Sunna, as I mentioned in the ending video. But sadly, you'd be surprised to know this, and maybe not, even in the recent merchandises, Chrome, Ryohei, and Lambo don't sell very well for some reason. Usually they're rarely in the promotional pictures. I mean, even in the Sanrio characters and Reborn characters, I haven't seen Chrome there. And even some recent ones, Ryohei is usually not shown, and instead he's replaced by like the Varia sometimes. And Lambo even gets replaced at some point. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing these three didn't get to do much. Still, I don't really care. I love them all three combined. And yeah, I'm a big Chrome fan, so yeah, this hurts me a lot. Next question. I would like to ask if you also read fanfiction, and if so, which ones would you recommend? Look no further than the 11th Family. I plan to recommend 11th Family to those who want to read a more expanded fan-made version of Reborn. I think this is the story you should go for, and believe it or not, I actually plan to make a video on it soon. Mostly because it's a story that I think people should read, and also because, a lot of people were wondering how the ending would have, went through if Reborn were to continue. And I think for me, the 11th Family is a story to which it's the most closest one for me. Are you going to make a video on Zanza's? I would also love to see you do retrospective on each arc because I'm dying for someone to make a full video on last 2 arcs and discuss them. First of all, yes, I've actually planned a Zanza's video actually. I won't necessarily go through every detail because Zanza's isn't really that much of a misunderstood character in a way. He's pretty straightforward, but the only reason why I even made analysis for him is because he's one of my favorite characters. But you can expect a Zanza's video in the future. As for each arc retrospective, technically, I've already did one with Sunna's character development analysis. I've pretty much explained each arc and how they're significant for Sunna's character. But then again, I still do feel like each of these arcs deserve their own analysis rather than making it significant for the character. So yeah, you can expect that video on at some points. It's also interesting because I've also found more meanings to each arc, and maybe when the day comes, you'll definitely see. My good friend Prod.G asked if I never read Reborn, what would my favorite series be, and do I think my life would be any different? My favorite would probably be Gundam though, because it's probably the one that I mostly go to as well at some point. And I guess maybe Kamen Rider. The anime, I guess also D.Gray-man. And do I think my life would be any different? Probably, yeah, because I don't think I would be like the most spokesman to the fandom, because compared to how those series are, because they're more popular. So with Reborn, it's more a uniquer place for me in a way. It's very hard to replace it. And just like how it has a massive effect on you, it most definitely does for me. I think I've already explained why it does. It's always a series that helped me through my times, and it's the reason why I even have friends here. Yeah, making friends online is rare, but at least for the ones that I'm friends here in the Reborn community, I'm very positive that these are all, they've helped me through my tough times as well when things in need, because I also did that in return. So yeah, that's my answer. Forbidden Super asked, what are my favorite Kamen Rider drivers? This ranges from Kuga, Ryuki, Wizard, Build, Oz, and Zo as well. As for the Reiwas, I guess 01? Yeah, definitely 01. Now moving on to the next questions going from DMs. These are people who either want to remain anonymous or the ones who decided to ask questions to me directly rather than on my comment section. The first question comes from a very, very good friend of mine, D.Trot. Their question is, what impact does Hitman Reborn have and had on anime manga community? And how does its legacy continue on today's media? The most common answer for people who might answer this one would be nostalgia, but I feel like that's an overused answer. Yes, I know there's a lot of works that's also carried out by nostalgia. You have Kenichi the Mighty Discipline, you have Zatch Bell, Air Gear, ISO 21, and even the 90s like Yu Yu Hakusho, Saint Seiya, Sailor Moon, Fist of the North Star. Yes, nostalgia glasses isn't always important, and you can always look back at those old shows and say, yeah, they weren't as good today. This is partially correct. But sometimes you can also like a show without nostalgia. To me, the correct word for that one is passion. I have a passion for Hitman Reborn, and it's something that I will always consume and talk about with my friends and people who are interested in the show. So for people, it might be nostalgia, but for me personally, it's passion, pure passion. And it's something that I will definitely recommend because this series is something I'm sure it has a lot of potential for people to enjoy. And its legacy continue even in today because I'm sure even Japanese fans, they refuse to let the series go. Sure, it hasn't returned since then and maybe it probably will, but shonen themselves and even a lot of anime industries and business, they still continue to sell Reborn. People will often underestimate its popularity most of the time, but it is popular in Japan. It may not have much of an impact in the West, but it definitely made a huge impact in Japan, and to me that's good enough. As for your second question, what is my approach when planning and creating content, and what content can viewers watch for the future? I'm not the best at that one because first of all, I'm only one guy making videos and editing this all by myself. So my approach may be a bit weak, but if you're talking about the way how I make my script, how I talk about my content. I may ask people for different opinions here and there, but also for the mostly, I also focus on my own. Just similar to how I make my D.Gray-man video, for example. And for content that viewers can expect in the future, I've already made a Reborn analysis and D.Gray-man. You can expect other underrated series. I mentioned I will be going for Air Gear, maybe even a Tawaru Index given its anniversary, and many on so forth. For now, I will also focus on Reborn content. There's a lot of things I want to do, and of course, Roan Kemonohashi. I have a lot to say about that one, and you can expect that one in the future. Next question comes from a good friend of mine named Telma Otaku. I personally call him that because that's how I met him. His question was, even if Reborn doesn't come back, what really matters is the feeling of love for the work. Do I agree about it? Absolutely. Yeah, right. What's the point of even bringing back a show that we ourselves don't even love? My point of this channel is, of course, to increase the love of Reborn and also recommending it to others. Even if it doesn't return, as long as we love the work and as long as people keep recommending it. That way people will keep demanding for the show to come back. And even if we did not get, of course we'll keep remaining on Reborn. Of course we will. Reborn is what got us become a family together. Of course we will not abandon Reborn just because it's not going to return. I personally believe Reborn can return, or at least I believe Reborn can be picked up. There is actual evidence to suggest that it can return, but we just don't know when or if this is Shonen's true goal. But at the end of the day, it is still a very popular work. It can return at some point, but even if it didn't, what matters is that we love the series. What matters is that we will keep pushing love for the show so that people will know that the fandom is not dead. The fandom is never dead when it comes to Reborn. When they are not dead, people keep underestimating the community, saying that they haven't made a move for a while. No, we've had a move. We're just relatively quiet. We're just quietly enjoying Reborn and supporting Akira Mono. So yeah, period. Next is by one of my audience called Sano X27, also known as Major Aura. And the reason why they asked me on DMs was because they were telling me that they were about to travel and they won't return for quite some time. So in an honor of respect and in honor of because I know these people are very big fans of mine, I wanted to know what their question was and I want them to be part of my Q&A. And gladly they asked, so let's go through them. So Major, if you're watching this, buddy, this is for you. And of course, thank you for the support. Who is my favorite character of all time? Well, it's obvious, Sunna. It will always be Sunna. Enma as well. And if we're going outside Reborn, let's see, we got Rukia, Linali, Red from Pokemon, Guts, Kiyomaru and Zatchbell, Kawasakuro from Shaman King, Senna from Aishou 21, Ippo from Hajime no Ippo. I can name many, but so far these are my favorites at the moment. One of my favorite new gen anime, Roan Kemonohashi, Deranged Detective, absolutely. Licorice Recoil, I really enjoyed A1 Pictures' recent works lately, as well as Bungo Stray Dogs. One of my favorite Guardians of Reborn are the Vongala, Chrome, definitely Chrome, Ryohei, Gokudera, and of course Yamamoto. Mukuro and Hibari are cool as well. And I guess even Lambo too. And as for your question, if there's going to be a Reborn anime, what I want to reboot or continue, easily continue. But I still feel like a reboot is likely gonna happen if it were gonna get picked up. As for how I've been alright, not perfect but not terrible either. My channel's been doing great actually, even though I haven't uploaded for a while, I still get a lot of subscribers which I very much appreciate and support. For a color, well, black and red, because Vongala gear. My top 10 anime and manga is D.Gray-man, Reborn, Air Gear, Aishou 21, Bleach, Kemonohashi, the Pokemon manga, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Berserk, Vinland Saga, Reborn, Yu Yu Hakusho, Sailor Moon, so on and so forth. As for your second question, at the moment I might make it as a hobby, or when I'm not busy or dealing with anything too personal or real life situation, but at the moment I'll make it as a hobby for now. Who knows? That's what I think so far. Next question is asked to me by a very good friend as well, Victor. He has a long string of questions, so let me go straight to them quickly. One of my top 5 favorite games of all time, Devil May Cry, Kingdom Hearts, Toho Project, I guess Pokemon/Digimon. Either of them are pretty cool. I'm keeping up mostly with Digimon games at the moment. One of the Persona games, I can't pick with either of them. I guess maybe 4 because it's the first Persona game I played. That's just me. What are my top 5 Kamen Rider series of all time? Kamen Rider X, Kuga, Oz, Wizard, and a tie between Z-O and Deno. Other honorable mentions would be Kamen Rider J, the film, one of the Reiwas, let's say 01, and Build. What are my favorite music genre? I don't really have much of a taste. I guess you could say city pop. Yeah, I think city pop is the one I listen mostly, and there's a good reason for that. What is the worst anime I've ever seen? Who do I want to piss off? If it's a show that I don't like, I don't consider it as the worst anime of all time because I know people enjoy it. I'm the kind of person who mostly cares about people's opinions and their enjoyment rather than my own. I hope you guys can understand that this is just my opinion, this is me. The one show that I didn't like, I wouldn't consider it the worst anime of all time, is, well, Rent a Girlfriend. I know people enjoy it, that's cool, but it's just not for me. As for what's the worst game I've ever played, Jump Force doesn't count because I never actually played it. Thank goodness I did not. Alien Colonial Marines, Metal Gear Survive. I guess these are the ones I can name so far. Next is what are my favorite Vocaloids? I'm a bit of a basic guy, so I guess Miku, Rin. Other ones also are Yuzuki Yukari, Miki, Miko as well, just because she's very underrated. Favorite songs from Vocaloid, huh? Let's see. Senmon Zakura by Miku, Frilly Tomorrow, Weekender Girl, Sweet Magic by Rin, Black Rock Shooter, Love Poem. I have a long nostalgic one for this one because it's the first Vocaloid song I've ever heard. And last but not least, Orange by Rin. Next question is asked to me by another good friend through the M's. Which do I think has the better villain between Reborn or Bleach? I think it depends on how you mean by better villain. Are you talking about in terms of preference, or am I talking about based on writing? Based on writing alone, easily Bleach. Not to say that Reborn have no better written villains in comparison, I just think that most of the Bleach villains themselves are not only memorable, but they often are very, they have great arcs for a reason. You have Aizen, you have Ulquiorra, you have Yohabaha, or Yowatch, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but there you go. But in terms of who I have a more preferred one, I would have to say Reborn, just because, Byakuran, Zanzas. I'm not a big fan of Demon Spad. Bermuda is fine, but his introduction and even his conclusion was really done dirty in my opinion, especially Jaeger. But that alone though, Reborn villains, they have a lot of potential, and maybe that's why I really like them. Zanzas, I don't really consider him a villain. I see him more as an anti-hero because his goal isn't really as got complexity like Byakuran. Byakuran is the villain of Reborn. Demon Spot, he is a villain also, but I just don't like him that much in my opinion. But yeah, if you're talking about which I think is better written, would be Bleach, but based on which one I prefer him the most, I would say Reborn. Next question is asked by my another good friend, Elf Rock. What are my opinions about the current Reiwa Tokusatsu, like Ultraman, Super Sentai, and Kamen Rider? Unfortunately, I'm not very caught up with them. I guess the only one I'm currently caught up with is actually Ultraman when it comes to the Reiwa. And I'm currently watching Ultraman Z. It's so far my favorite one out of the picks. For Kamen Rider, I guess I'm somewhat keeping up with 01, but I've kept it on hold for quite a while because I'm also busy watching the Showa era and some of the parts in the Heisei. As for Sentai, similar to Kamen Rider. I'm keeping up with the older ones and then keep the new ones for later. I would say that most of them have been improved quite some times. I'm still a bit shocked that there's no season for Kamen Rider Shinobi. Yeah, I'm a big Kamen Rider Shinobi fan. Shame on me, I know. With all that being said though, yeah, I'm keeping up with them a couple of times. They have a good start so far. I hope they continue to make more unique ones. A good friend of mine by the name of Ace asked if Sunna wasn't the main character of Reborn, who do I think should it be? I'm guessing either Gokudera. Gokudera is also one of the characters who has a lot of character growth, and it's nice seeing him, like how he started off from the daily life arc up until the end. So if Sunna wasn't the main character, alternatively I would say Gokudera. Reborn, we don't really know much about him, so he does not count. I think it's a tie between Yamamoto and Gokudera because they have the most they seem to have the most focused character arc in my opinion. But again, this question can be answered by anyone as well, so each to their own. Okay, so the final question will be asked by another good friend of mine who prefers to remain anonymous. But for the sake of this questionnaire, they were asked to refer to as K. So their first question is, if Red Sun could hang out with one of the Reborn characters for a day, who would it be and what would I do? Okay, so let's start off with the characters that I would likely not be friends with, starting off with Mukuro. I mean, I love Mukuro as much as the next guy, but being friends with him, he's just gonna use you for, for going to his goals. So being friends with him is not exactly very fun. And the one I will not be friends with as well would be Hibari. If you're a person who likes to be stepped on, or if you want to be bitten to death, then this is the guy you want to be friends with. As for the ones that depends, I guess Gokudara. Now, Gokudara is the character you want to be friends with, but I think it depends on the situation. Am I going to be the 10th boss in this scenario? Because if that's so, yeah, you definitely be friends with Gokudara. But if I'm in the situation where Sunna is the 10th boss, then Gokudara is just gonna be mad at me because he knows I'm gonna be close with the characters. So I'm gonna have to do a lot to earn his trust. Even then, Gokudara is a lovable character, so being friends with him would be hard. But if Yamamoto could do it, I could do it. Next up is Lambo and Ipin. I'm not much of a babysitter person, so I do find Ipin a bit more bearable than Lambo, so I guess Ipin would be cool. But for Lambo, I need to be an expert babysitter to really be close with the guy. And well, he's very annoying, and it's only for those who can truly understand babies. So I don't know about Lambo, to be honest, but Ipin's cool. Futa, yeah, sure. We get to know more about the rankings around the world. Sunna, I would say Sunna as well, but that would kind of be cheating because that's the guy I relate to a lot, and in some way I really associate myself with that character sometimes. If by sometimes I mean mostly, but I wouldn't mind either way. Then there's also Chrome, which is a character that's very antisocial. I mean, it wouldn't be very difficult, but again, I wouldn't mind being friends with Chrome though. Kyoko and Haru, I mean, I don't see why not. Reborn, probably not. Going for the characters that I would 100% be friends with, and I left them out on purpose for this reason. Yamamoto and Ryohei. How could you not be friends with some of the most motivated characters in the manga? Like, come on, seriously. You have Yamamoto, the only guy who didn't seem to mind Sunna's reputation. He's always laughable, he's always funny, and he just loves baseball. And the guy's an absolute bro. He has the highest energy in the manga, and he's also very carefree and upbeat and cheerful. And that's what most people would like for a friend. As for Ryohei, people might disagree with me for this one because Ryohei can be loud and annoying, but dude, Ryohei can teach you how to become strong. He cares about his friends, he cares about protecting Kyoko, and he also mostly cares about becoming strong, just having that extreme training. And who wouldn't want a friend to teach you how to become strong? Seriously, come on. He has a good heart. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna be friends with Ryohei or Yamamoto. Maybe even both, too. The second question is asking me if I could possess a unique special flame, which I've already answered. If special flames don't count, it's between the sky flames or the earth flames. But if special flames count, I really like the flames of wrath, so I would probably go for that one. The third question is asking me if Reborn could have a crossover episode with another show, and I already answered this with Yugi, and I said it's going to be a shonen manga. But for this one, I'm gonna make it non-shonen, so I'm not gonna target series like Bleach, One Piece, or like My Hero or whatever. I'm gonna go for the ones that are non-shonen. So this one's gonna be a bit strange. I'm guessing Bungo Stray Dogs because I think this is the closest manga or series that actually does tie with Reborn in my opinion. You have the whole mafia, you have the whole detective agency. And it would be fun to see Dazai interacting with some of the Vongalas. You have Hibari, I'm sure he likes to piss him off. I guess maybe Atsushi with Sunna, because both are main characters who have a simple goal of protecting their friends. Kyoka with Kyoko will just eat sweets together, and so on and so forth. But again, it would be really fun to see like the Bungo Stray Dogs characters interacting with the Vongala. But besides Bungo Stray Dogs, I guess maybe Madoka Magica. I know it's a bit strange, but Madoka has made a lot of crossovers before, and seeing like the Vongalas, because they have like the special rings and special equipments for each members. You know, you have like red, blue, which represents water, red, which is either fire or storm. Not to mention both series start off like simple and fun, but then serious things happens. But this is what I think. This is just what I think, and I think that's how I'll end it here. So yeah, that's so far my answer in that one. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I would like to quickly apologize for taking so long to prepare this Q&A video. I know I promised that I will be uploading it for like a couple of weeks or so, but unfortunately a lot of things got in the way and I wasn't able to work on it on time. And I know it's not an excuse. I know you guys are okay with how long I take or how long I make a video and all, but it's still not something I'm very proud of, unfortunately. And I do want to greatly apologize for the inconvenience. I hope this Q&A at least make up for all the trouble, but on a quick hand, I want to quickly go through all the congratulations comments and say thank you all so much. I really appreciate the positive energy that I've been getting for a while. Not just the congratulations comments, even just people who genuinely appreciate the videos I'm making, saying their thoughts out, or even just people who genuinely follow me around on my platforms to know with me spreading the love for series that I like, mostly with Hitman Reborn and so on and so forth. Really, it does mean a lot to me, and when it comes down to it, I'm going to keep going for it. Trust me, it's something that I'm very passionate about. I really didn't expect I would get this much questions, but it's not surprising considering how much of a big Reborn fan I am. So it's inevitable that a lot of people want to know my questions or my takes on series. So it's really, it just shows how much of an impact I've made in this fandom. Though my channel is mostly a bit simple, but again, that doesn't mean I don't appreciate it though. I love every single bit of these questions. There's a lot of interesting ones, there's a lot of ones I want to go for, and there's the ones that I also want to vent out personally. I find myself even practicing how am I supposed to answer these type of questions. And to know that people asked it and makes me very pleased. Once again, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Take care, have a great day, and see you soon.